not very loud, is it? It's not delicious, I think. Yeah. Okay. So first of all, I want to thank a whole slew of people, I think, that I've been working without breathing the last hour, feverishly, to try to put this together on two different sides of the globe. And it should be a poil dimyoini that the Rabbi Shalom Taka should be a mekabetz nitchei Ama Yisrael, everyone together. For those of you in America, I hope indeed that you are seeing me now and listening. If you are seeing me and listening, I want to tell you that this is a very good experience for you, because you could, if you're just seeing me on the screen, you could say whatever you want to me and I wouldn't be insulted if you're sitting there. You could throw tomatoes at me, you could, if you don't like something that I'm going to say, you could say whatever you want. And being that I don't see you, you only see me, that gives you the opportunity really to do whatever you want. In case you are scared that if you get up and walk away because it's late, or if you make a funny face at something I say, if you think I have Ruach HaKodesh and I see what you're doing, I don't have no Ruach HaKodesh. I do want to tell you, though, that there's a wonderful audience right over here in Melbourne. So if you want to make funny faces, you can do also, but I will see you, though. That's the only difference. I really would be remiss if I wouldn't start thanking the many, many people that are responsible for bringing me over here. And I want to tell you that this is my part, because I'm a little action and a battling, and I don't always get the calls. There are a lot of people that made many, many calls to get me over here, and they basically didn't take no for an answer, and they simply refused to get insulted. And they just kept asking again and again. And that's true for both sides of the globe. It's true for Rabbi Yosef, who did all the work, and I want to thank everyone. And I want to particularly thank a very, very dear friend of mine in America, Maishi Seifer, who put in for this trip and to make this work and to make everything work, hours and hours and hours of time. And you should know that he has commission for all of the Torah that's being learned over here, and it's something that I will be indebted to for many, many time to come. In many things in life, in many situations in life, there's a person that gets the honor and the covet, and there's somebody behind him that does all the work. Some people say it's your wife, which is true to a certain degree. And in this particular situation, not taking anything away from my wife, but I want to say that there are people over here that have tried very, very hard to make this work. And they don't get the big covet, but they keep on trying, not only to make this work, but to make many, many other things work. And that's why in Shemayim, it says we're going to see an Olam Hafach. After 120 years, we're going to see a world that works the other way around. A lot of the big covet down here that many people get, and they get their names in the papers, and they get their things on plaques. In Shemayim, the plaques work very, very differently. It's probably the people that didn't get their names in plaques, the people that were consistent and said, I'm going to keep trying and trying until this Siyata D'Shmaya, they're the ones that get covet. Talking about Olam Hafach, so I want to first say that the feeling of warmth being over here in the community is something well worth traveling across the globe for. Olam Hafach Re'isi. I'm a New Yorker, so you have to know the way I think. That when I got into the car this morning, and there was no steering wheel in front of me, I said, a lot of things happened to my car, but it never happened they should steal my steering wheel. What happened? I said, in Melbourne they steal steering wheels? Oh, it's there on the other side. It took me a split second to put that together. I had this hasaga sitting in the front of a car. We're usually driving, and I'm not driving, and the car's driving. I said to myself, even when you are driving, you're not really in the driver's seat. It's really the Rabbi Shalom that's driving. It's a kind of machshava that I had. In life, if we would only understand that you're always in the passenger seat, I'm going to mix this up. Even if you're on the right side in Australia and on the left side in America. As I heard from Rabbi Yolavsky once, that in England and Australia you drive on the left side of the road, in America you drive on the right side of the road, in Eretz Yisrael you just drive down the middle and let everyone else get out of the way. I think there's a kind of feeling that we're always only in the passenger seat. That's all we are. We're sitting in the back seat of the car. I wouldn't let my good friends, especially those that had the patience to wait out until we had the Siyata D'Shmai and I did enough tshuva over here to get this to work, what it's like to fly to Australia. I have different feelings about it. First of all, it's an absolutely phenomenal feeling, especially if you're flying in a better class, to be able to sleep for 8 hours and then to wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning and learn. It's like you always have this guilty conscience if you sleep for 8 hours. And here you're sleeping for 8 hours and then you wake up and it's only 2 o'clock and you're learning. It's like you have the best of... So let me share with you a little bit of my experience traveling. You know, the first 6 hours, it took us just to get from New York to San Francisco, which is interesting if you know a little bit about what New York is. Sometimes just to travel from Brooklyn to Manhattan can take you 6 hours. Coming in from the country Sunday night on Route 17 can take you 6 hours. So I was beginning to wonder that here I am. There was actually one time that I came in what we call the country in America, which is the Catskill Mountains, which I think is up north, right? North. So just coming into New York can sometimes take 6 hours. And here I'm sitting on a plane, and those same 6 hours I fly coast to coast from one side to the other. So what's the difference? The difference is that when you're above the world, you just cover a lot more ground. There is a way, emotionally, of lifting yourself above the world. You're in the passenger seat. When it comes to Parnasa, when it comes to Chinuch, when it comes to children, when it comes to Shalom Bayis. I mean, I just witnessed from last night, I brought this camera from America. We brought the computer from America just to make sure that it's going to work. Just to make sure, and many people on both sides of the globe worked very hard to make this work. And it was practiced last night to make sure there shouldn't be any delay. And it worked, and everything was set to go. Now there's no problem. For sure it's going to work. We know how to do it. Not me, I wouldn't have a clue. But the people involved know how to do it. And it comes l'maisa, and you make the connection, and it doesn't work. And I sat there sitting in the office. Now I'm saying, okay, it's not going to work, it's not going to work. We have all people over here listening and people over there listening. And so I said to myself, you know, it's not going to work until I say, Rabbi de Alma Kul, this is your decision if it works or not. We have experts, and we have the lines connected, and the modems connected, and the passwords connected, and everything is supposed to work up to Cheshbon. But until the Rabbi Shalom says it's going to work, it's not going to work. And every time somebody would come in and say, I have an idea, let's try this way. I have an idea, let's try this way. I said, no, it's not good. It's a great idea. But I have to believe no one's idea is going to work until the Rabbi Shalom says it's going to work. And I honestly believe that until I reach that level, okay, whatever's going to be is going to be. Could be it's all over. The Rabbi Shalom has to say it's going to work. It wasn't going to work. And as soon as it's in your hands, it's easy to say. But as soon as you really mean it, Rabbi Shalom, it's in your hands. You got the message the Rabbi Shalom says. Rabbi Shalom flips the switch. He knows which wires to connect. In the course of our lives, if we would understand in any crisis, if we would understand when you need something to work, that I can do all the ishtadlus in the world until the Rabbi Shalom says it should work, it won't work, then it won't work. And if you understand that I need the Rabbi Shalom for it to go, and when the Rabbi Shalom will make it go, then it will work. My picture disappeared from the screen. I don't know if that's supposed to be that way or not. If you want to, it's still supposed to be on screen. Okay. I guess as I was saying it, I didn't really believe that it's up to the Rabbi Shalom to make it work. But right, the Rabbi Shalom says, you're just saying that, you don't really mean it, right? Okay, so we're back in business. Very good. There are so many situations in life, you can make a decision. You're either stuck in the mud, and I'm going to fight this out, and I'm going to demand my honor, or you're going to say, I'm going to fly over it. In New York, there is something called road rage. I don't think I have seen that in Melbourne. Maybe I don't know which side of the street to look on. But there are people that if somebody passes you on the highway or cuts you off, he will chase you from New York to San Francisco in order to prove that he is going to cut you off. Why? Because his life is empty. And if somebody cuts me off, then I have no chis. There is such a thing as road rage in a marriage. There is such a thing. She said that to me? He said that to me? No. You know, I'm going to... It's not going to happen. and you'll chase the person the same way, and it's really the same road rage. On the other way around, if you just say, you know what, I'm going to fly over it. My husband made a comment, my wife made a comment, my mother-in-law made a comment, my father, my son made a comment. I fly over it. So it had to be gegangen weiter. I'm not going to get stuck in it. You know what happens if you live that kind of a life? If you understand that with all the ishtadlus in the world, it's not going to connect until the Rabban Shem says it connects, then in the same 6 hours it would take you to travel 50 miles on the ground, you travel 6,000 miles in the air. They said that the Rebbe Zisha, his wife once yelled at him, and he said, "What? How can you say that to me?" So I said to the Rebbe Zisha, "You?" He said, "Why did you do it?" He said, "You don't understand." He said, "At one point, it so much doesn't bother me what she said. I saw how hurt she was that I wasn't insulted. So I had to answer her back to show that I'm insulted." It's very hard to figure out what it takes for a person to say, I'm going to lift myself above it. I'm going to lift myself above it. You know, there are situations in marriages, situations in relationships where one person abuses the other one, and it requires help. But 90% of the time, if you're not interested in evening the score, if you're willing to say to yourself, okay, there's a moment here that's going to be difficult, instead of me, no, that's what you said to me, no, ich habe zurückgewiesen. Lift yourself up and fly over it. At that moment, you cover 6,000 miles as opposed to 600 miles. Why is it called sinas chinam? Why sinas chinam? I hate the person for nothing. No one hates somebody for nothing. I hate someone because he's blocking my driveway. I hate someone because I asked him information about a shidduch, he didn't give me the right information. I hate someone because I asked someone for information about a shidduch and he took that shidduch for his own son, his own daughter. We have reasons that we hate someone, that we hate people. And it's all on different levels, why we may or may not hate somebody. So you can say, sinas chinam, it's not a justifiable level to hate. That's why you hate him. Because he took away your place in shul. Because he hung your hat on his place. That's why you hate him. But it's not chinam. It's not for nothing. So we discussed many times from the Gra, because what does that have to do with him? If it was b'shet min hashemayim, you should be hurt, you're going to be hurt. It has nothing to do with this person. If you have to chap his yainis, you're going to chap his yainis. You have a breira. You could be toivel in the biz yainis and say, what? I can't know. Why didn't I get that aliyah? Why can't this person stop and give me a nice Aramik Shabbos? Why not? And you can kach in it, or you can fly over it. It's your choice. If you schlepped yourself into a world of agmas nefesh, Shechina was for nothing. You had a breira to pick yourself up and to fly over it. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu said to David HaMelech, you know, you're going to have tzaros. Chet Bashev, you're going to have tzaros. Do you want it from an outside source, or do you want it from your own son? So David HaMelech said, I want it from my own family. Why? Because he knew from his own family that, I think we need help again, that he knew from his own family, a lot of shtadlus over here. Does make them?
I think they're from America.
From American side. Yes, the Americans, they are.
Right.
From our own family, David HaMelech said, he picked his own son. His own son should rebel against him. Why did he pick that his own son should rebel against him? It's the biggest agmas nefesh in the world. Because David HaMelech said like this, I have to go through a certain amount of agmas nefesh. The bottom line is, if it comes from my own son, it will be with a shear. It comes from the outside, there's no shear. If there's a domestic situation where a person feels that his wife said something to him, his husband said something to me, my brother said something to me, my brother-in-law said something to me, there's a kind of a shtecherei there. Stop and think for the moment. It was Bashet, you should go through Bizyanis. You would rather have it from the outside. You'd rather have it from the IRS, or whatever the equivalent is in Australia, or the ARS, I don't know, one that collects taxes, or the government agency. Or maybe this is the biggest matana in the world. That instead of me getting embarrassed in shul, instead of me getting embarrassed on the street, instead of me getting embarrassed in such a way that it would take years to straighten out, I came home and my spouse, either my husband or wife, was not in the best of moods, and So instead of me turning around and striking back and saying, Kadosh Baruch Hu, you gave me the bizyonis in the best way possible. Rav Shlomo Zavila said that every person comes down to this world with 100%, and the Rebbeinu Shalom divides it. 10% gezint, 10% menicha, 10% kavod, 10% parnasa, 10% a place to live. Let's say the Rebbeinu Shalom sees that if this person can't get away with the 10% of health that he was given, he needs 20% of health. So the Rebbeinu Shalom says, in order he should be healthy, I have to take away 10% from someplace else. So where could the Kadosh Baruch Hu take it away from? Kadosh Baruch Hu could take it away from a person's money. Kadosh Baruch Hu can take it away from a person's kavod. Kadosh Baruch Hu can take it away from a person's menuchas hanefesh. So the Rebbeinu Shalom says, let me take it away from the easiest way possible. It shouldn't cost him. Let me give him a little bit of bizyonis, a little bit of embarrassment. So if the person comes in one day and somebody says something to him, that's what he said to me. And you say, I guess it was Bashet. So Rebbeinu Shalom says, you're giving it to me? You're not fighting? Rebbeinu Shalom takes that 10% of kavod, puts it over to the health. He has the 20% health, and we don't know what kind of crisis he got through that day. We don't know chas v'sholom, chas v'lahaska, there was a cell that was about to split, that in 5 years or 10 years from now, who knows where there would have been, and it never happened. But if a person says, what? This is what she said to me, this is what he said to me, and there's milchumas, and Rebbeinu Shalom says, you don't want me to take it away? Fine, I won't take it away. I'll leave you the kavod you had. But as a result, he doesn't have the health that he needs to get by. No one knows the puzzle the way the Rabbi Shalom knows the puzzle. So therefore, when we run into situations in life that it's not going our way, don't fight it. Fly over it. You're obviously rearranging things. You're rearranging things in such a way that my life should be easier. Why should I fight it? Let me fly over it. Somebody once came to one of the Talmidim Baal Shem Tov, and he started complaining that his wife doesn't talk to him with Terecheres, and says, "Look, the Marana, she really gives it to him." So he said, "So watch what you say." No, Rebbe, she isn't talking to me nice. He said, "Watch what you say." He said the Baal Shem Tov said that sometimes when a person has tsaris with his children, it's because you're not careful with your own machshav. Sometimes when a person has tsaris with dibur, you're not careful. That means you say things you shouldn't say. A person speaks lashon hara, says things he ought not to say. He's going to have trouble from his wife. A person's wife respects her husband. That is based on, as Isaac the Baal Shem Tov, his kayach haloshen. The more we use our dibur correctly, the more in the eyes of his spouse there is respect. And if a person has trouble with his maisim, with his business, with his things, so b'maisa you did something wrong. And some say that that's the Indian of the three haftarahs of the 3 weeks, Tvar and Shimi and Chazain, that if you talk differently and you listen differently, you will see a different world. A world where you'll be able to fly over it. Now what happens is that when a person is extremely sensitive, and and you're so hurt, how dare someone said something, he has a chash, maybe it hurt my kavod. So everyone starts, you're walking around, you're scared, you're like dancing on ice when you walk around this person. What happens is, you make yourself vulnerable. When you make yourself vulnerable, you become much more of a soft target. Whereas if a person says, you know what, say it to me. Say it to me. Okay, say it. It doesn't make a difference. You don't tell the person it doesn't make a difference, because that's a way of answering back. I don't care what you say, it doesn't make a difference. I heard that Musa Shmuel, you heard that? This yoinus don't make a difference to me. You can even ask me all the world, I couldn't care less what you say. See, I didn't answer you back. No, that's called answering back. But it means when you're just nodding and saying, gegangen weiter. So your respect shoots up 1,000%. The person is less likely to do it to you again, whether it's husband to wife, wife to husband, mother-in-law to shve, whatever the situation is, because you're not vulnerable. And that's why it's called sinas chinam. So many problems come from nothing. It comes from the ability that the person insists on riding it through, demanding his honor, instead of picking himself up and just flying it over. So we know that during these days, what are we waiting for? We're waiting for Mama Rachel should cry. And when she is going to cry, the Rebbeinu Shalom is going to bring the Beis HaMikdash. Why only Rachel's cries? Failed to mention some Geweint. Is there a shortage of people that cried for the Beis HaMikdash? Why is it only Rachel Ameinu's cry? Why only her cry? Rashi says a very interesting thing. That Rachel wanted a child so badly. She wanted a child so badly. Zok Rashi, you know why she wanted a child? Because let's say something breaks in the house. There's no child. It's the wife's fault. But if something falls down and breaks, your son did it. That's a good reason to have a child. No? So that's why Rachel cried all these years, and she said, I have no life, lama li chayim, because every time something broke, Yaakov Avinu blamed her. And what's Rashi saying? You really think Yaakov Avinu, the Bechir Sheba Avos, the one that is Surasi Chakuka Tachas Kisei Yaakov, you really think that the person whose image is on the heavenly throne of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the Kisei Yaakov, came home and said to Rachel, again it's broken? Who broke this? And Rachel said, it wasn't me, it's little Yosef. Oh, Yosef did it. She goes, shoo. You really think that that's what happened? That's what Rashi makes it sound. That's why she wanted a child. This shouldn't break. It's a metrish. What a chazal mean over here? That's why she wanted a child, because if something breaks, she can blame it on the child? Rabbi Aryeh Levine was an Ish Kaddish. He was Meister Nefesh himself, for Yoshev Shver. So he once came home, and his Rebbetzin was a big Mesiras Nefesh Frau. And one day she came to him, in those years in Yerushalayim, living the Nisyonis, and she told her husband, she stood outside, she told us, I want to tell you something. He said, what's the matter? He said, I want to remind you that Baruch Hashem, we have children. No. And I want to remind you that Baruch Hashem, we have a dira here in Yerushalayim. Thank you. Can I go into the house, please? And I want to remind you, not only do we have a dira, but we, Baruch Hashem, have children that could run around. Can I go into the house now, please? And I want to remind you that Baruch Hashem, not only do we have a dira, we live zwischen Yid and Menschen, and we're in a mamish, a shechina, of Kedisha and Tahara. That's very nice. Can I please go inside now? No, I want to tell you one more thing. Okay, tell me one more thing. That Baruch Hashem, one of these children that we have, B'chazdei Hashem, one of these children that knows how to run, by mistake ran into the neighbor's window and is being rushed now to the hospital. The neighbor's screaming about the window. There's a shtickle problem when you come up. That's how she let him know what was going on. You know, somebody told me once witnessed the sight of a woman sitting in a park, and she had triplets. Every second, the mother with the kid, another kid was nudging, and she was diapering one child, and running after the other kid, and running back and forth. And someone came over and made some type of a comment, like, you from people. Look what you're going through. Why do you insist on having so many children? And she turned around and she finished diapering the baby and said, why I insist? Do you know how many years I waited for these children? Do you know I mortgaged my house for treatments to have this child? You see, this crying, this nudging, this is music to my ears. You know what Rachel wanted? Rachel wanted this mitzias. She wanted this mitzias that when a glass breaks, when you have to make a connection to America and it doesn't go after hours of work, when you built up something that has to work in your life, and you're so sure it's going to work and there's a last minute disappointment. So Rachel wanted to be able to say like this, Baruch Hashem, I have a child! Agav, the child just broke the front window. That every time the front window breaks, because the child crashed into it, to stop and say, but Baruch Hashem, I have a child. This is what Rachel Imeinu wanted. She wanted it to be able to say in every tzara in life, she knew Rachel had Racha Kodesh, all the Amos, and she knew that tzaras with Yosef HaTzadik what's going to be. And when she was born, she said, but in order to have these tzaras, I have to have a child. In order to have these tzaras, I have to have a house, I have to have a husband. She wanted Klal Yisrael to think that way. She lived her whole life that way. And the Mela that Rabbi Shalom said, Rachel, when you cry, I listen to your tears. Why, when you cry, I listen to your tears? So I heard from Avigdor Miller once, he said that he went to visit somebody that was Nebuch. He had a few days left. He said, Rabbi Shalom, give me life. I want life. If I only had life. So he said, I held myself back, but I didn't say to him, but when you were alive, you weren't so happy with your life. You didn't go around, all of a sudden now you want your life. Maybe if you would have had more Akaras Atoy for life when you had it, then Rabbi Hashem will give you no more now. So it comes out that the foundation for Hakaras for every bracha to be answered is Hakaras Atoy. Because Rachel Imeinu was so happy with life, because every tzara that she had, she said, I can't have this tzara if I have a child. Every issue she may have had with her husband, she said, I can only have this tzara because I have a husband. Every issue that she said, she saw b'nevuah what Yosef HaTzadik is going to go through, I can only have this because I'm the mother of Klal Yisrael. She saw in every tzara bracha. And that's why when she cried, the Rebbe Hashem couldn't say to her, the Satan couldn't say to her, now you cried, when you had it you weren't so happy. Couldn't say that to Rachel Imeinu. And that's why when she cries that she wants the Beis HaMikdash, Rachel mevakal b'nea, the Beis HaMikdash has to be built. If we have a karas hatoiv in our life, it's an antibiotic. If you come home one day, when was the last time we really stopped and we thanked the Rabbi Hashem for what we have? We thank the Rabbi Hashem that we have a family. We thank the Rabbi Hashem that we're alive. We thank the Rabbi Hashem because by doing so, it's an antibiotic. It is a vaccine. Because later when there are tzaras, Rahman al-Itzlana, you say, Rabbi Hashem, please. The first thing the Sultan's going to say, please what? When you had it, you weren't happy with it. And if the answer to that is no, when this person had it, he was happy. Then the Rabbi Hashem says, and you have to listen to the cry. Then everyone has to come back. I have a story that the Olam may have heard from me already. It's a young mother. I had to speak once to families, Rahman al-Itzlan, of bereaved children. I didn't want this job. I said, it's very sensitive. I'm going to speak to such children, speak to such parents of lost children. I'm not going to do it. Yeah, you have to be sensitive. So one of these mothers called me up and said, well, we want you to speak. I said, Nebuch, take somebody that went through the Nisayan. So she said, no, we had that already. But when someone comes and went through the Nisayans, what the Rebbe Shtapitna says, and I got over it and you get over it, it puts a tremendous pressure on the people. Tremendous pressure. But you, if you come and say, in other words, no, it takes me seriously anyway, so you can't hurt anybody. So I said, fine. So I called up a friend of mine, Rahman al-Itzlan, that had that lost a child. And I said, so I have to speak in this situation. So v'zukman, what should I say? So he said, what are you going to say? Let me tell you what not to say. Okay? Don't say, Eibush only gives Nisayan to those who can handle it. That's why Hashem gave it to you, because you can handle it. Okay? Don't say that. And don't say it must be such a tyrant, neshama. Must be this neshama came down for a tick, and that's why Hashem took him. Do me a favor. Because when a parent is suffering, he doesn't want to hear about the neshama and how he's only one deserving of this Nisayan. So I said, well, now that you took away my drasha, can you tell me what to say? So he said, speak to my wife. I hear back and forth, husband and wife, and finally his wife gets on the phone. She tells me this story. Many years ago, she had a child that was sick. In Matangaris in Himlin, they tried so hard for this child, to make it work. After 3 years, the child passed away. The mother came home, and the mother said, I am finished with this world. I am not stepping out of the house. If she stood by the window and she saw people laughing, she could pick up the window, and if she didn't outright do what she wanted to do it, she would say, Chutzpah, don't you see how many people are sick in hospitals? How dare you laugh? How dare you smile? She was angry at anyone that was happy. How could anyone be so insensitive to be happy to see what happened to her 3-year-old child and so many others? And this went on for almost an entire year. And all attempts at therapy and at trying to talk to her did not help. One day her husband came into the room, and her husband said to her, you're going to a wedding of a cousin. And she said, no, I'm not. You are going to the wedding of a cousin. No, I am not. She went down for a minute to get something from the corner. She comes back. The door's locked. The door's locked. She says, Moshe, open up the door. I'm not opening up the door till you go to the wedding. I'm not dressed to go to a wedding. Just go into there's an empty apartment across the street. All of your chasana stuff is there. And since when are you such a maven on what I have to wear by a chasana? She says, well, your mother's there, and she took all the clothes out. Oh, my mother's in this also. Moshe, open up this door right away. I'm not opening up the door. I'm warning you. Moshe, open up. I'm not going to the chasana. Oh, neighbor goes by. Everything okay? Yeah, sure. Everything okay? Yeah. There's someone banging over him. No one's banging. No. Just, you're locked out? No. Just standing there for some air. Yeah, sure. Yeah. Everything okay? Yeah. Didn't see you around. Very busy. Okay, bye. Okay, walks into the elevator. Bye. Okay, yeah. She opens the door again. You sure everything's okay? Sure. Okay, bye. Okay, you're going? Good. Moshe, open up that door right now. I'm not opening the door. Moshe, I'm telling you right now, you're going to regret this. She walks across. She's angry at her mother, angry at everybody. She takes the clothes, and she goes to the chasana. If you know this chasana hall in Williamsburg, she walks in. So there's like babas there that are there from Sheshis and Bereshis, and they collect tzedakah, and she's like angry. She walks in and she looks inside the hall, And she sees people dancing. And it hurts her so much. How could people dance? They don't know what I went through. They don't know what people are going through. She runs to the telephone. Those days there were no cell phones yet. She picks up the public phone. She doesn't want to cry. She looked like a stunning Michigan crying. So she cries on the public phone. She's standing on the public phone and she's crying and crying and crying as if she's at least it looked like she's talking to somebody. And one of these old Babas comes over to her. One of the old Babas comes over to her. And this old Baba comes over to her and she's like, not now. She takes out $1, gives it to her. I'm like, what do you want? I'm on the phone. What do you want? She says, Mamala, you're not talking to anybody now. She's like, just get away, get away, get away. I'll give you another $1, get away. And this Baba says to her, people are telling you not to cry, right? All of a sudden everything stops. And people must have forced you to come to this chasana, right? Yeah. People forced me to come to the chasana, yeah. She had the wherewithal not to ask her what her problem was. She just said, Narish and mention. They tell you not to cry. What do they know? She said, you know, I had 10 children before the war. I saw the Nazis kill them. One, they yanked the baby out of my arms and shot him in front of me. I got married after the war a second time. My husband became sick right away. Sick to the point he wasn't even able to give me a get. I suffered the rest of my life. And Narish mentioned, you know what they tell me? They tell me not to cry. What did they know? And I'm telling you, Vine, Mamala, Vine, cry. She felt so close to this lady. But at the Vine Shanya, if you are crying, don't waste your tears. Don't cry in self-pity. Don't cry because you're angry at him or you're angry at him. If you're crying already, why are you wasting your tears? You're crying. Cry for the other people that need a yeshia. Because your tears are so powerful. Don't waste your tears. And if you're crying for the other people that need a yeshia, you know what you could cry for? Cry for the Rabbi Shalom. The Rabbi Shalom lost his children so long ago, he's crying for them. Cry for the Tsar Hashchin. Mamala, vines aus the weinen. Cry. But know what to cry for. And she walked back. She said she stayed there on the phone and she cried like she never cried before. But for the first time in her life, she cried not in anger, not in self-pity, not in depression, but she cried for the other people that were sick in the hospital that she knew. She cried not only for the child that she lost, but for all practical purposes, the husband that lost the wife and her other children that lost the mother. And believe it or not, she began to cry for the Tsar Hashchina. If it hurts so much to lose a child, imagine how the Rebbeinu Shalom was crying so many years. She said she turned around, she saw the people dancing, and she was overwhelmed with such a sense of simcha, with such a sense of joy. Like a huge brick was lifted from her heart. She ran in and started dancing with the Kala. So much they probably thought she's crazy. They thought she's crazy before she's crazy now. She said she was never zeichet to such a simcha like she danced at that moment. For many years afterwards, she runs programs and trying to help people. Rachel cries. You know why Rachel cries? You know why her tears? Because she knows how to cry. If you know how to cry, the Rebbeinu Shalom answers you. The Rebbe Rabbinim said, if your heart, if you feel tzebrachen, there's a big eitzah. There's someone who comforted Klal Yisrael. And that's Moshe Rabbeinu in Parashat Devarim. The Rebbe Rabbinim said, an eitzah for any person, shenafshei chashka loshev b'tshuva shalema, is every year, all year long, the Rebbe Rabbinim said, you should read a few psikim from Devarim. Because Moshe Rabbeinu is talking heart to Klal Yisrael. So Eila Dvarim Ashedibur Moshe El Kol Yisrael. You should say El Bnei Yisrael. Why does it say El Kol Yisrael? Shteit in the Chassidish Svarim, from the Chayzer, from others. The Ber Moshe and the Yerusha Rebbe is marach on it. Because Moshe Rabbeinu is speaking to you and he's speaking to me. He's speaking to Yidden in New York and speaking in Melbourne and all the Yidden in between. He is speaking to every single generation. Your Elta Baba till he was speaking to that lady in the hospital. He was speaking to that Yid in the Warsaw ghetto. You heard the story who had one bullet left. And they said, everything is burning around you, kill yourself with it. And he said, no. He said, in 2 seconds you're going to burn up. So he told someone, and I remember there was a story of a Yid in the Spanish Inquisition that was shipped off to some island. He lost his wife, he lost his children. He said to the Rabbi, I lost everything. And if you think I'm going to lose my ahava to you, you're making a big mistake. That I'm not going to lose. And I'm not going to survive this island. I'm going to have every minute. I have no tefillin, I have no mitzvahs, I have no nothing. But I have ahavas Hashem. And I'm not going to lose it. He stood there, I'm not going to waste this bullet. I shall lose one mitzvah of ahavas Hashem. And that's how he stood. Big words. We have no shaykhs to that. But you know something? It doesn't have to be the ultimate Mesiras Nefesh. It has to be the next time you need a connection that doesn't go through, and the deadline is there, and the time is out, and somebody comes and knocks on your door, and shining with something else, and you want to scream, leave me alone now! Instead you say, oh, it's Machta Nefesh. Yeah, a little bit of Gedrek, Baruch Hashem, you fly over it. Then at that moment, there's a connection. The Rabbi Shalom takes all your tzaras in life and fast forwards it 6,000 miles. So Moshe Rabbeinu gives Musar on 2 things. Chatzeiros v'dizov. What's Chatzeiros? The Chet of Kairach. What's Dizov? The Chet of Egel. It's the wrong order. First came the Chet of Egel, then came Kairach. So up to Ber Moshe, what did the Yidden say about the Chet of Egel? We panicked! We panicked! Moshe Rabbeinu, you're not here. We're alone in the Midbar. Kit Asut, and he says, Moshe Rabbeinu is dead. This is Mita in the Shva. We panic, we don't know what to do. We need a leader. So we grabbed the Egel. It's not our fault. Zoy, it's not your fault. You panicked. What happened by the Chet of Kairach? We don't need a manik. What do we need a manik for? It's not fair. We don't need a manik. So the Chet by Kairach shows you that there's not the problem with the Chet of Egel wasn't in you. You're going both ways. You're talking from both sides of your mouth. Now, this is the Sutan. The Sutan has a pendulum that swings this way. And we go in our lives from Chet of Egel, we go to Kairach. From Kairach to the Chet of Egel. There are times in our life we panic. There was something that we relied on. We had a parnusa. All of a sudden one day, you lost your job. All of a sudden one day, there's a note from a doctor one day. And we panic. What am I going to do? What am I going to do now? I'm finished. It's over. But we panic. That's the Chet of Egel. And the Messiah of a Yid, when you come through the Chet of Egel is, push it the other way. Gam Zayavar, I'm going to get by this. I'll fast forward a year ahead, I'm going to look back. I got through everything else in my life. I'm going to get through this also. I'm not finished. You have to push toward Kairach. Relax. Take it easy. And there are times in our life we say, so-and-so is taking advantage of me. They don't realize how important I am. No, I had enough of this. I'm not going to let anyone take advantage of me anymore. Then you push yourself toward the Chet of Egel. I need someone. Chetzeres v'dizuhav, Moshe Rabbeinu said, you see how the Sultan is working? The pendulum is going this way, the pendulum is going that way. He's schlepping you from panic, I'll grab anything, to, I don't need anybody. And the avoid of a Yid is to keep it in the middle. When you feel being depressed, when you feel you're losing it, ich darf take a kindness. The Rabbi Shalom is I'm going to cry together with the Rabbi Shalom. When you feel the world doesn't appreciate me, how dare someone say that me? Work the other way. And if you do it, your cry is a cry. I want to tell you something. Some of you heard this last night. I'm just going to repeat it for the benefit of if anyone is still out there in America. I was on a very long flight. It was 16 hours. So I said, what do you think it's 16 hours on the plane is an einish, I think, for all the times I didn't sit in class all the years, or I walked out by davenings, the Rebbe said, yes, it's these, it's. You understand? You don't want to sit then, you're going to sit now. Everything, you don't get away with anything in life. So after 16 hours, so supposed to land in Sydney. Sydney, for those in America, is like, there's Williamsburg, Borough Park, there's Melbourne, Sydney. I have to explain. Okay. I think there's a little more mileage in between, but it probably by car takes the same amount of time to get from Borough Park to Williamsburg as it does from Melbourne to Sydney, even though it's a couple of hundred miles. So after 16 hours, we're going to land in Sydney and take a flight from there to Melbourne. So the pilot gets on and he makes an announcement. He says, they don't have enough fuel, they're landing to refuel. Don't have enough fuel. And on my car, the gauge is broken. So it always says F. So it makes me feel good that it's full. But I always have to fill up just in case. I said, I didn't think that the 747 works the way in my car. Doesn't mean you don't have enough fuel. So I asked, what does he mean there's not enough fuel? I asked the flight attendant. So they explained it to me. That when the plane, this is what she said, I don't know if it's true or not, that when the plane flies from San Francisco to its destination, it's basically the full amount of fuel that you could put into a 747. But that's if it could land on time. But if he sees there's a storm in Sydney, And he's going to have to start circling for who knows how long, but he doesn't want to take a chance. So at that point, he has to land someplace else. So after 16 hours, we land in Brisbane, whatever. Okay, it's a city in North Australia, right? North? Am I getting it right? No, not North Australia. More north than here. Okay. So it lands in a different place. This is after 16 hours, and still have to go to Sydney, from there to Melbourne, 2 more. No, okay. So it lands. Then I overhear the most amazing conversation. This person gets up and fighting with the flight attendant and says, Gewaldig! I was supposed to take a flight to Sydney, and from there take a connecting flight to Brisbane. And here I am in Brisbane. Perfect. So please open the door, I'm out. And they say, no, you can't get off the plane. So what do you mean I can't get off the plane? I'm supposed to get a connecting flight to Sydney to Brisbane. I'm in Brisbane. That's true. But because of customs, because of regulations, because of the way it works, you cannot get out of the plane. So, are you telling me that I'm supposed to wind up over here, and I am here, and we're going to wait now, he announced, an hour for the thing to clear in Sydney, another hour flight to Sydney, for me to find out that I missed my connecting flight back over here, when I'm here right now, you're not letting me off the plane? Nope. So this person had to sit there in Brisbane in order to be able to wait out the hour so he could fly to Sydney, so they should tell him that he missed his connecting flight to Brisbane. I thought, how many lives are there that way? There are people that could be happy. There are people that have a wife, that have children. Life could go on. But my marriage is not good. My children is not good. You're here. You're here. It's so easy. Make it work. Get off the plane. Get off. Flee. Reverse the pendulum. Understand when in your life you're chet egel, when you're kairach, and go the other way. Look around. When we do that, so the Rabbi Hashem is going to say, "V'shavu banam l'gvulam." Look around from now till Tisha B'Av, when you're in the mood of crying. Because you have to cry in the 9 days. But don't waste your tears. Look around who to cry with. And when you do that, the Rabbi Hashem will say to you, V'shavu banam. Thank you very much.